Good afternoon, and we hope you're ready for an exciting qualifying session as the teams make their final preparations here in Canada. It's raining out on track here in Canada, which should make for a really interesting qualifying session. I think the form book can be thrown out of the window on a track like Montreal when it's wet, and we should always expect the unexpected here.
With how close the cars get to the Wall of Champions, throw in some wet weather and it adds an extra level of complexity for the drivers to deal with. It's going to be an exciting session.
Hello everybody, this is Elliott Splash with Raikkonen Career Mode on F1 2015. This is part 7 at the Canadian Grand Prix, and as you can see, it's fully wet conditions in Q1. Yeah, I finally found out about the patch for F1 2015 where you can now choose, well, you can change your qualifying. You can change it to either full qualifying or short qualifying, and that's brilliant. That means I can do 50% races, but with Q1, Q2 and Q3. Just showing you my setup here. I'm going for, well, a mixed setup. More of a dry setup than a wet setup, really. But I think the race is going to be dry. Well, fingers crossed anyway. And also, we don't know if the rain is going to subside over the course of this hour qualifying session, or if it's going to just stay full wet all the way through. But hopefully we can make it through Q1 without too much trouble. And yeah, let's go do this. Do not forget to like this video if you do enjoy it, obviously. If you don't, dislike it. Criticism is always welcomed, as also compliments, really. But anyway, this is our third flying lap of qualifying 1. I was going to show you all of the laps, but because it's Q1, Q2 and Q3, there was just not enough time in this video as we come across the line setting a 1 minute 24.1. So that's put us into 4th place. Sebastian Vettel did do a 1:22.8, so we were 1.4 seconds off the leader, which was Nico Rosberg, but it was Q1, we didn't have to push that hard. Also, wet conditions. I haven't had actually that much practice on racing in F1 2015, or F1 games in general actually, in the wet. Now, as you can see in Q2, we're on lap 4, at the moment we're in 6th, and you can see we've got the intermediate tyres on. It's starting to dry out the trackies, and the rain is getting a little bit less heavy, so we've been able to put on the intermediate tyres, and we're going to come across the line with a 1 minute 19.3. So that's put us in pole position, but this is Q2, so we've still got to do Q3, and I believe Daniel Ricciardo got knocked out in Q1, but Sebastian Vettel is in 4th, with Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg in 2nd and 3rd place. We were 3/10 up on Lewis Hamilton's fastest time in Q2. Anyway, it's lap 2 in Q3. That could be some kind of tongue twister right there. But anyway, we've at the moment on pole position with a 1 minute 13.865. Can we do a better lap? Let's see. Yes, we can, with a 1 minute 13.208. And I was so happy with that lap, I totally forgot how to do the first corner. But anyway, that's pole position for tomorrow's race at the Canadian Grand Prix. So we've got the best chance of winning. Even if it is wet conditions, we can still park the bus and hopefully win our 4th race in a row. So you can see we were 1.2 seconds in front of Sebastian Vettel, where the 2 Ferraris lock out the front row of the grid. And I know a few of you are going to be thinking, 1.2 seconds? Surely that's not Legend AI. Well, I'll tell you right now, as you can see, it's Legend AI, definitely. Canada is probably one of my most favourite circuits. In F1 2014 I didn't particularly like it, especially the second sector, but in F1 2015 the track seems a lot better.
Welcome to race day here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. The grandstands are filling up nicely, and there was a real buzz around the paddock this morning that today's race could be a cracker. In yesterday's post-qualifying press conference, you'd have been hard-pressed to tell from his demeanour alone that Kimi Raikkonen had just beaten everyone to pole. But he had, and that's where he starts from today.
It's certainly better for a driver to be out in front, as they're able to drive without having to contend with the dirty air and overheating caused by being sat behind another car.
Just what do you think will be going through Fernando Alonso's head as he watches now how well Ferrari are doing this year?
Fernando left Ferrari as he didn't believe they'd be able to offer him the opportunity to win that 3rd world title. If he knew this form was around the corner, I dare say he would have stayed put.
So here we are on the grid for the Canadian Grand Prix. On F1 2015 Raikkonen career mode, we're starting from pole position. This is going to be a good race. We can actually choose to start on the primes, but I think start on the options, keep our pole position leading into, I think it's lap 18. I think the pit strategy is to come in around about lap 18. So here we are waiting for the 5 lights to go out for this Canadian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and it looks like we've had quite a decent start. Actually, not even a decent start, a good start. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. Vettel totally jumped us there, and that's put us now into 2nd place. So Vettel has had some serious good getaway to get past us, because that felt like a really good start, really. I felt like I just connected all the gears right, but Vettel was just a little bit faster off the line than we were. Now, can we keep up with Vettel? Does he seem to have a better setup than we? It seems like he's... I know for a fact in the 2nd sector we do struggle. As you can see, on lap 4, Vettel's pulled out a gap of 1.5 seconds as we slightly missed a corner there, but we set the fastest lap of the race so far within 1 minute 14.963, so we've definitely got the pace. We've just got to try and reel Vettel in. I don't know how much faster we are lapping. I'd say it's probably 2 or 3 more tenths than Vettel is at the moment, but as we run wide into the final corner of the 1st sector and we start losing the rear end, on lap 9 we are closing the gap to Vettel slowly but surely. We might be in DRS range now. It looks like we probably will be if we can get a nice traction getaway here. No, Vettel seems to be getting away a little bit faster than we are, but we have got DRS, so let's go and try and catch that other Ferrari down. Let's try and brake as late as we dare through the final corners, right next to the wall of champions. DRS once more. Can we get him before the 1st corner? Let's see. No, we're way too far back, but that's alright. We're just going to have to stick behind him for probably 1 more lap. I don't think there's any real overtaking spots that we can overtake Vettel with our setup, because the 2nd sector, that's where we lose our time. So if we can keep with him for the 1st and 3rd sectors, hopefully we'll be able to overtake him on the 2 DRS straights. As you can see, we close up in the 1st sector, but it comes to here where I start losing time. I think his acceleration is just a little bit better than us. We have a higher top speed, but he has better acceleration. So these little short straights, he seems to get away. But we are still quite close to him. We're still in the DRS zone at the moment. And shall we make a move down into the hairpin? No. He locks up slightly, Vettel. He seems to be getting a little bit worried that the Iceman is just behind him, and he's got good reason to. Oh, there's a yellow flag ahead. What has happened? I can't see anything at the moment, but we got the DRS on Vettel, and... Whoa! Who was that? Was that Alonso? He just parked on the... That was close. But we've got the DRS on Vettel. We're going to overtake him for 1st place in the Canadian Grand Prix. We've finally gained that position back after 11 laps of chasing the German down. But we are now into 1st place, and here is a replay of that Alonso incident. As you can see, we get a nice exit through that hairpin, and now we're coming up to the DRS line right here. Open up the DRS, and this doesn't actually look as scary as it did in the other cam, but you can see there I just dart to the right hand side as I just about see that McLaren Honda. Also, Vettel gets very squirrely by the wall of champions, and the same with Lewis Hamilton, I believe, in the back of the shot there. But as you can see, we overtake Sebastian Vettel, and we are now into 1st place. And from here on out, if we can pull away, which it looks like we're doing, Vettel's dropped down to 3rd and Hamilton is 2 seconds behind us. We might be able to win our 4th race in a row. Lap 16, it's time to come into the pits, and look at this, instant brake. For some reason, it doesn't slow you down. No. You just instantly brake from 190 miles an hour to 49 miles an hour. It's, I know, it doesn't seem right, but it's a Codemasters game. Anything can happen. So it's a 2.4 second pit stop. And where are we going to come out to? It looks like we might still come out in first, because I believe the people behind us, like Hamilton and Vettel, have also pit. So we might actually come... Yes, we are. We're coming out in first place. Lap 20, there is another yellow flag, and it's starting to get quite dark, as you can see. I have been told there is rain coming down in 5 minutes' time. It looks like Jenson Button's had a problem. He's going extremely slowly. Maybe he's having an ERS issue again as we go round the outside, but this is going to compromise our line into the last turn of Sector 1 and we run wide. But that hasn't lost us too much time. I do not think, like, I think I can just about see rain coming down. Yes, we can. On lap 21 you can definitely see some little raindrops hitting the circuit, so it's going to be an interesting finish to the end of the race. This is going to make things a lot more difficult because I've gone for a dry setup, so yeah, this could get tough to keep in first position with Hamilton right behind me, the reigning world champion, don't forget, and he's always been very good in wet conditions, especially when he has to be aggressive and start overtaking. Lap 24, I've been told by my race engineer it's definitely time to come into the pit and put on a set of intermediate tyres. As you can see, just struggling to get the power down through the rear tyres, but yeah, we won't have these on for long. We'll be coming in for a set of intermediates, and that should hopefully get us to the end of the race. I mean, 11 laps should be able to get us to the end of the race. I think the tyres will last, I'm not too sure though, and it also depends on the rain. It depends on the weather. Is it going to get worse? Is it going to stay the same? Or is it going to get better? Not too sure yet. I haven't been told by my race engineer that it's going to get any worse, but sometimes they don't tell you, so I have no idea at this point what's going to happen. We've dropped down to 4th place, but I believe we're one of the first drivers to come into the pits for a set of intermediate tyres, so we may lose a little bit of time while we're waiting for the track to sort of dampen. But as you can see, there's definitely a line of... the track is definitely wet. You can see the line of tyres going through the water at the moment, as I'm just trying to get grips to these intermediate tyres. Racing 24 laps on dry tyres, it feels a lot different to be driving on the intermediates. There is not enough turning, it doesn't feel as responsive. So it takes a few laps to get used to what these tyres can do, and where you have to brake a little bit earlier and where you have to turn in earlier. You just have to get used to the tyres. Looks like there's 2 cars in front fighting head and toe at the moment. Oh, and are they going to go straight into the pits? Yes, they are. So they've decided it's definitely time to come into the pits for a set of intermediate tyres. There is now 9 laps to go. And looks like we're coming out, yes, we're coming out in first place, and we've gained a little bit more of a lead than we did have previously, but we've come out in a bit of traffic. There's a few cars in front of us that we're going to have to try and pick our way through, but we should be able to do that. On lap 30, Kvyat is right in front of me there, blocking my way, and you can see the rain has got a hell of a lot worse. I don't know if we are going to be finishing this race on intermediate tyres or not, but first of all we've got to try and get past Daniel Kvyat. Get out of the way! You're in 11th place, I'm in 1st. Thank you very much. I had to dive down the inside just to get out, just to get in front of him basically. He was just holding me up so much. I've lost around about 2 seconds to Hamilton. But on lap 31, Hamilton is definitely catching. DRS has been disabled. It looks like he's going to try and take an outside line, is he? I don't know where he's going. He's going into the pits as we hit the wall of champions. Grazed it ever so slightly, but we haven't had damage to our front wing. And our race engineer is now telling us that Hamilton has gone on the full wet blue ball tyres. As you can see, so has Verstappen, the young rookie driver for this season. So we might have just cocked up here. If it's definitely time to go in full wets, then we're going to lose so much time to Hamilton that if we pit, we're going to lose first place. As you can see, on lap 34, we've decided to stay out because I thought, well, we had around about a 16-second gap, so I thought we should be able to manage it without coming into the pits and risking losing second place. So I decided, let's just stay out on intermediates. How hard can it be? And yeah, that was a bad call, because Hamilton has just took out 2 seconds in 3 corners, and I believe that's Verstappen there trying to overtake us, and I think he spun out trying to overtake us, but that's his own fault really. He's a lap car. So we are now, shall we say, very conscious of the cars right behind us and thinking, where is Hamilton? Are we going to be overtaken on the last lap of the race? As you can see, there is a huge train of cars behind me. I think there's 4 or 5 cars trying to overtake me as I'm parking the bus extremely well until I get hit by Verstappen. Yeah, this is not going to help. So Verstappen and Hulkenberg have gotten past me. Those were my 2 bankers behind Hamilton, and then the Sabre as well. And then here's Hamilton on the left hand side with the blue walled tyres, and we lose the front end actually, weirdly enough. But we're going to try and brake as late as possible into the final corners. Are we going to keep first place? I don't know. I really don't know. It looks like we're going to win the Canadian Grand Prix, and that was a very, very scary final few laps. But there we are, taking our rightful position on the top of the stand, would you call it? And there is a wonderful Scuderia Ferrari. So that's 4 race wins in a row now. This game is a lot easier than F1 2014 was to win a race, I tell you that now. I just love the handling model. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So that's first place. I think we're now 34 points in front of everybody else at the moment. I'm not too sure, but just want to clarify something, guys. Well, just want to say something actually. Clarify is the wrong word to use. Do not miss the next episode at Austria. I recorded that literally a couple of hours after editing this, and it was a hectic race, even more hectic than this. It was an extremely awesome race, lots of issues and problems that came around, and yeah, do not miss that episode. That's going to be an absolutely fun-packed episode. But this has been Elliott Splash, and I'll see you guys in the next video.